Hi everyone, it's me, Sandy Cruz of Sandy K Nutrition, Health and Lifestyle Queen. For years now, I've been bringing to you conversations about wellness from experts from all over the world. Whether it be suggestions in how you can age better, biohacking, alternative wellness, these are conversations to help you live your best life. I want to live a long, healthy, and vibrant life. Never mind all those stigmas that as we reach midlife and beyond, we're just going to shrivel up and die with some horrible disease. Always remember, balanced living works. I really look forward to this season. Hi everyone, welcome to Sandy K Nutrition, Health and Lifestyle Queen. Today with me, I have the lovely Susan Bratton. She has been on my show before. It was back in 2022, episode 106. Who is having good sex at midlife? Is this possible? If you want to go and listen to that episode, of course, it is still there. But today we are doing a little refresher. And today we are going to talk about how to keep the loving alive beyond menopause and andropause. So we talk about men and women in this episode. She is the known intimacy expert to millions. Susan is so engaging and lovely to listen to, and be sure to check out the show notes for links to some of the products that she talks about. Things have been a little bit slower these days in the podcasting world, unless you're talking about politics. So I am going to ask you to please be sure that you're following my show. So hit that follow button wherever you're listening and share this episode with at least one person. Share it on social media. Be sure to tag me. It's just at Sandy K Nutrition, wherever you do social media. It's just really important, you guys, that you give back, because I get these guests each and every week. I provide you with free content, free information, just to help you live a happier, healthier life and age better. So if you could do that for me, that would be lovely and so appreciated. Speaking of social media, I'm probably most active on Instagram. Follow me there. I'm also on Facebook. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Threads. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Rumble. Wherever you do social media, just look for Sandy K Nutrition and meet me there. Many of you know me as the Thyroid Queen. That's kind of one of my specialties. And I am a registered holistic nutritionist, a holistic health practitioner with numerous certifications. And I did release a book called The Essential Thyroid Guide this year. It is available on Amazon stores worldwide. And I'm going to correct myself. It's not a book. It is a guide. And it is also not clinical. It is a very simplified guide just to help you understand how this important little gland works. There's areas there in the guide where you can write your notes so that you can go and speak with your own practitioner about your thyroid health. I am working on my second book. You can find some of the content if you join me on Substack. I do provide a lot of free short essays there. Just go find me on Substack. It's sandycruz.substack.com, SandyKruse.substack, SUBSTACK.com. And now let's cut on through to this amazing interview with the lovely Susan Bratton. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Sandy K Nutrition, Health and Lifestyle Queen. Today, I have a repeat guest. She's just so lovely. I welcomed her to come back to my show, and her name is Susan Bratton, and she is the intimacy expert to millions. She teaches people how to achieve ageless passion and unlock the secrets to lifelong vitality, which is what we all want, right? Susan is a champion and advocate for all those who desire intimacy and passion their whole life long. She's the co founder and CEO of two corporations, Personal Life Media and The 20. Susan is the best selling author and publisher of 34 books and programs. She has been featured in the New York Times and on CNBC and the Today Show, and as well as frequent appearances on ABC, CBS, the CW, Fox, and NBC. And today, Susan and I are going to be discussing sexual vitality and how to keep the loving alive beyond menopause and andropause. For those of you who don't know, andropause, male menopause, they go through it too, guys, in a different way, but they do go through it. And so
Yeah, they
this
do.
is going to be a very important conversation. Susan is an absolute wealth of information. So, with that, welcome, Susan. Thank you for coming.
Sandy, it's so good to see you. I'm so happy to be back with you again. We had so much fun the first time we got together. That was such a great episode.
Yeah.
And so I've really been looking forward to seeing you again. It's just so great to be on your show. One of the things that I love about what you do is you really help people stitch together the basics, but then get beyond them. I kind of think about your audience as being like the superheroes of health and vitality. They're like, tell me all the things. And because I'm a nerd around ageless sexuality and what it actually takes to have great sex until the day you die, instead of feeling super frustrated, beating yourself up, feeling guilty, feeling like you have to perform, feeling like you don't really want to, but you're doing it, mercy sex. There's so many things that happen to us in midlife that we take on as kind of our, oh, we're just doing this wrong. We're bad. We should be better. We have all this stuff. And I'm hoping that you and I can kind of clear the path for your listeners to have a whole new approach to their sexuality, because in all honesty, the people who've given up on their sexuality aren't even going to be listening to us today or watching us today. They're not even going to, they're like, I could take it or leave it. I'm not doing it anymore. I've given up on that. So we're really speaking, I think, almost all the time when we do a segment about sexuality to people who are like, there's a flicker of hope. Tell me. Or, hey, I'm finally making up for the lost time. Or I want to have a better sex life. Tell me what to do. So that's what I'm hoping we'll get into today together.
I think that sounds really good because I think, speaking from a woman's perspective, we go through such phases in our lives, and then our sex life changes with those phases. Like if you're a parent, you remember those days when that toddler would crawl into bed with you, and then,
Oh, yeah.
right? And then there's those,
Precious moments on one hand,
yes.
sex life killer on the other.
Right. But then there's the times like where you are suffering, and I've been there and I'm still there with a snoring husband. And then can you have,
Oh, yeah.
I actually did a show about this, Susan. Can you have intimacy and a healthy marriage without sleeping in the same bed?
Mhm.
Because, as we get older, for me, my sleep takes precedence
Mhm.
over anything. I have to sleep well. Otherwise, I'd look like crap recording with you, wouldn't I? So,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
would also feel like crap and wouldn't want to do all this stuff. So, there's a lot of changes we go through our lives, and then we end up at menopause,
Yeah.
and then there's more changes. So, I first want to ask you what your story is and how you became an expert in this area.
Yeah, I've been a sexpert for the last 2 decades. And like you mentioned, I've actually written 44 books and programs now.
Wow.
Must have been an old bio. I added them all up and went, oh, it's bigger than I thought. Was 12 years into my marriage and I didn't want to sleep with my husband anymore. It wasn't pleasurable for me. I'd been giving him mercy sex for years. He was like super mad at me and checked out emotionally in our relationship. We were very platonic. I would relent to mercy sex with him when I felt like I had to. And it's not that I didn't want to have good sex. I just had never had an orgasm from intercourse. And I'd been having intercourse with him for a dozen years. And I just was like, I don't know, it's not doing anything for me. And he said, okay, well, let's see if we can figure it out. And we went to marriage counseling, and I worked on some trauma that I'd had, and did a lot of that kind of stuff. We did a lot of personal growth development. We started getting very honest with each other. That was one of the biggest things. But what really made the difference for us was going to some sex, love, and intimacy workshops and actually learning how to make love and orgasmically, how to have very pleasurable lovemaking, and not just intercourse, but touch and oral pleasuring and holding each other, and arousal, understanding arousal, and things like that. And it so instantly transformed our relationship. We had this renaissance in our relationship where we just totally fell in love again together. We had all this new relationship energy. The sex was finally good for both of us. And we just kept getting better and better and pursuing more and more knowledge. And my husband and I were both Silicon Valley executives. And he's the original inventor of the Rhapsody online music service. The first, like now we're at Spotify and Pandora, but he was the inventor. He was the beyond category inventor of that. And my company invented the cable modem. And we, we were really Silicon Valley 1.0 web people. And we said, people aren't going to spend the money that we spent to go to these workshops and get naked and learn techniques in a room full of people. Why don't we bring the workshops to people at home? Why don't we create programs, online programs? And this was still very early, 20 years ago, that because now I've been married for 33 years and I'm having the best sex of my life. It just has kept getting better and better. And I've never run out of new things I've wanted to do or try. My orgasms are incredible. I have different kinds of orgasms. I teach orgasmic cross training, orgasmic activation. I teach orgasmic intercourse skills, orgasmic oral skills. This is what I actually do. And I launched a publishing company, and I published the work of these experts who were working with, 20 to 60 people at a time. And it basically created experiences that partners could have wherever they were in the world, digitally direct to consumer. And I've been doing that for 20 years now. I have a team of about 20, and my other company, that's my company called Personal Life Media, and the brand is called it's called Better Lover. And then I have another brand called The 20, because one of the things that I realized about 10 years into teaching people how to have great sex is that there are three legs to the stool of having sex that serves you for the rest of your life. And when you have good sex, and by sex, I don't necessarily mean intercourse. I mean all the things. I really make a distinction between what people say when they say foreplay and sex, as sex is intercourse, and like that's what you're going for, when they leave all the other goodies on the table and rush through them. I try to correct that, because there are skill sets, communication skill sets, technique skill sets, and then there's that third leg of a great sex life, which is, and it's an ageless sexuality. You want to have it as long as you can, because it makes you literally live longer, healthier, and happier than someone who gives up on it. And that is what I would consider to be intimate wellness, or what I call either sexual regenerative therapies and treatments. Everything from acoustic wave to photobiomodulation red light therapy to supplementation to vacuum erection devices, all kinds of things. I also call that sexual biohacking. That's a popular term. And I speak from the stage frequently. Like in the next month, I'm speaking on 3 stages about sexual biohacking. It's another word for the same thing, really. But that's very important, because your body is going to go through atrophy. And the atrophy can be reversed so all your parts are working. Because you can have all the techniques and communication skills in the world, but if it hurts, You're not going to do it. So that's where I got into the whole health side of things and started my second company called The 20, which is sexual vitality supplements and blood flow supplements.
Mm.
And the blood flow supplement I make, it's called Flow, nitric oxide booster. And what's interesting about that as an example of kind of my ethos of holistic health and as much natural healing as possible, staying away from pharmaceuticals and keeping your body working, is that the nitric oxide booster that I pretty much say anybody over 40 should be on a booster. And you should be upping your leafy greens and your beetroot
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
eating your dills and your cabbages and things like that to get the nitric oxide. But our soils are depleted.
Yes.
And so you can't get the nitrogen to turn it into the nitrates that turn to nitrites that turn to nitric oxide that pump the blood to your genital systems if you don't have enough of these precursors. And so I have a food derived supplement that's made from organic watermelon rind, spinach, sour cherries, instead of things that I think about supplements and I think there's two-dimensional and three-dimensional supplementation. And two-dimensional supplements is they made it in a lab, and three-dimensional is this is something that came from the earth, from nature, and it's
Mhm.
always going to have things in it that are much more synergistic and more bioavailable than lab-based things. Now, some of that stuff like vitamin C studies show you that, ascorbic acid is just as good as, the vitamin C derived from sour cherries, but I'll still go with the whole food oriented supplementation when available. It's not always, but there's a few things I've found that are quite interesting that really
Mhm.
help keep all your biological systems working very well as you age. So that's kind of my story. And at 63, like I said, my genitals they're more lubricated, more responsive, more orgasmic. I have more kinds of orgasms. They're longer, they're more pleasurable, they're more intense. I have sexual confidence. It's just a joyful part of my life, my sexuality. And that's available to everyone. It's just, thank God for podcasts like yours, Sandy, where you are intrepid enough to have somebody like me come on and talk about, okay, what do I need to know and do? Where's my thinking been skewed from the misinformation that's in the world today? That's basically lack of knowledge, censorship, and religious and cultural repression and a patriarchal view of what sex is. How do we correct that? What is female centric sensuality? And how does that serve me? And so I think I've obviously been quite popular with this category of
Yeah.
conversation. And I'm so happy people are eager to know these things.
Yeah. So here's the thing. You and I are definitely in agreement on this. I know, because you just mentioned nitric oxide. I just released a show about nitric oxide like
With
2 weeks ago.
Nathan.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I've taken all Nathan's classes. He
Yeah.
is the world's thought leader in nitric oxide production.
Yes. And it's interesting because this will be an interesting segue. I know you'll have something to add to this, but
Yeah. Dr.
how
Nathan Bryan.
men immediately jump to Viagra
Mhm.
versus thinking about why is this happening to me in the
Yeah.
first place? And the root cause, well, there's a couple of possible causes. There's atherosclerosis,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Or there's a
Diabetes.
nitric oxide, right. So there's a
Right.
few. So at my age, I'm a big believer in nutraceuticals that are really, really therapeutic, like
Yeah.
proteolytic enzymes, like
Love them.
nattokinase, right?
Yeah.
Nattokinase, serapeptase, we're on that
Yeah.
protocol.
Yeah.
And then on a nitric oxide protocol. But
Hmm.
then also for me specifically, I have to really be cognizant of my HbA1c. So there's
Hmm.
so many factors that can affect our vitality, our sexual vitality.
Yeah.
And people immediately go to the drugs versus kind of doing more explorative work and thinking, what could possibly be causing this lull in my sex life?
Yeah.
So
The atrophy
maybe,
and the loss of firmness, the loss
yeah.
of blood
So
flow, which
can
makes them
you
not have
talk
a firm
about that?
erection. Sure. My God,
Because
this is
I
one of
know,
my
because that's
key
one of your
things.
specialties. Like, what are some of the causative factors? Okay, I mentioned a few, but
Yeah. Well, I think you hit the greatest ones. And honestly, I think it's better to talk about what are the solutions and what happened and what are the solutions. And
okay.
so the other interesting thing that I think needs to be said before we talk about the solutions to the problem, because it doesn't really matter why your penis isn't getting hard. It does, because then you've got a root cause issue you need to deal with.
Yeah.
But the big ones are atherosclerosis and insulin dysregulation, which are, due to lack of movement and poor nutrition. Duh. So it's just that simple, Sandy K.
And I mean, listen, if you're eating McDonald's and all kinds of
Right.
garbage,
Yeah.
start
If it
there.
comes out of a box, you're killing yourself.
Clean that up
So
first. Yes.
the thing that doesn't get said, because everything's focused on the male member and whether or not that's working, is that if you pretended that a penis was a banana, you can imagine that 50% of that banana sticks out of a male body, but 50% actually goes in and down towards his testicles. It's twice as long as the visual that you see. And the penis is basically spongy tissue covered by a thin membrane called the tunica albuginea and a and the penile skin, and there's the pudendal arteries, there's the capillaries, there's the nerves, there's things like that, but it's basically 90% of it or more is erectile tissue, spongy tissue. And so men have what's called fast acting hemodynamics. When they get turned on, which is very easy for them because they're testosterone dominant, the blood quickly flows into the penis and has to flow in enough to lock off, to close the blood vessels so that it holds the blood in to create the erection. What nobody ever talks about is that women have, if I took all the erectile tissue out of the banana and I put it on your hand, it would fill up your hand. If I took all the erectile tissue out of the vulvovaginal complex and put it in your hand, it would fill up your hand too. We women have as much erectile tissue as our male bodied partners. The thing is that it's also in three erectile tissue chambers, if you will. One is the clitoral structure, which we know the most about. Most women are aware of that. The little nub is just the tip, the glands, it's their little penis. It has a shaft, it has arms, it has legs, it wraps around the vagina. But they don't really know that the second sponge is called the urethral sponge, and people call it a G spot, but it's not a spot. It's a long tube of spongy tissue that wraps around the urethral canal. The men have exactly the same thing. It's called the corpus spongiosum, and literally their urethral canal comes out, down their penis and out. They ejaculate and they urinate out of that tube, and it has sponge around it. We have the same exact tube. We also ejaculate and urinate out of our tube.
But
It
ours is
just,
inside.
but ours is it. If you open up your little labia, your inner labia, what's inside there is the exit of your urine and your vaginal opening. And that's the tip of your urethral sponge right there. And it actually likes to be pleasured, that little spot, just like the entrance to your vagina likes light touch and pleasuring. That's called the introital sphincter. These are sphincter muscles, sphincter system. So what's interesting is there's a third spongy tissue, just like the male body, and it's called the perineal sponge. And it's this little spongy thing between the bottom of the vagina and the rectum, sandwiched in there. And all three of those tissue structures have to get flooded with blood. But for the male partner, it takes 2 or 3 minutes for him to achieve an erection. For the female partner, it takes her 10, 20, maybe even 30 minutes, depending on frequency of sex, how often she becomes engorged, etc. So our female bodies, we need our lady boner, our clitoral erection, our engorgement, our tumescence. We need that as much as our male body partners, but everything's focused on the male erection, and women are getting left behind, which is like malarkey to me. So this is why I think it's very important to understand, because it leads to women thinking that they don't have a libido and it must be hormonal. When in actual fact, what has happened is they have been having sex before they're fully erect their whole lives because they don't understand these mechanisms. And what happens is that when those little bags of tissue don't fill up and deflate and fill up and deflate and fill up and deflate from blood flow, they atrophy, they shrink. And when they atrophy and shrink, the same thing happens to the penis. They atrophy, and then the blood vessels and then the capillaries retract. And diabetes exacerbates that, by the way, right? Diabetes makes your nerves retract and your capillaries retract. And so when they retract, it shrinks the tissue even more. And the tissue keeps shrinking and shrinking and shrinking to the point where a lot of women, by the time they're 40 or 50 or 60, they can barely achieve a single orgasm because they've literally never had the blood constantly flowing completely to all that tissue because they didn't know that they needed 20 minutes. For most couples, when 20 minutes is up, he's already snoring. By
Yeah.
the way,
Yeah.
snoring is an interesting thing because testosterone replacement exacerbates snoring.
Yes,
So
it does.
here you are living with a man who's already snoring, and then you get him on testosterone because he's turning into your grandmother. And you're trying to get him to work out and build muscle, but you got to do something because you don't want to be living with your grandma. And then he starts using testosterone, and then his snoring goes through the roof. Then your sleep goes down even worse, and you got to kick him out into the other bedroom. So it's an imperfect situation. And I wanted to address that because you talked about that earlier around, husbands snoring and your sleeping so important. It is what you ultimately do have to do is you have to go into separate rooms when your partner can't solve their snoring issues. And there are a lot of things that can be done to solve snoring issues, but not all partners are motivated to fix things. So you
No.
have to deal with what is in your marriages and your relationships as well. But I think that if women, one of the reasons why women give up on their sexuality is that we've been having sex with a flaccid erectile tissue structure, and and here's how this works. Okay, so just to finish it off, because I think this is so I find this really helpful for people.
But it's
you
also
know
very new, I will say,
yeah,
because
yeah, well,
the majority, how we always talk about how foreplay is so important.
yeah,
This is one of the main reasons why it is so important for women,
you need the time.
right? Because we need that
Yeah,
time. But
yeah,
most women, listen, the reality is, Susan, you see women, my age, our age, who either stop having sex
yep, I can't blame
or
them.
do the mercy sex thing.
Yeah,
Um,
been there, done that.
do you think that women and men, or can you stay in a marriage that has no sex at all? Because this is totally my opinion.
Hmm.
I can't imagine being in a marriage with no sex or that mercy sex that happens once every 6 months or whatever.
Yeah, lots of people are in marriages that they
Yeah.
don't have any sex and they've given up on it. A lot of people cheat, have affairs
Yeah.
on the side. A lot of people have a don't ask, don't tell. A lot of people are too sick to have sex. I mean, if you want to talk about libido, desire, and arousal, libido is your physical health. Desire is your mental and emotional health. And arousal is how your body works compared to your partner. And most women have been having sex and being treated like men. Like even the whole notion of foreplay is bullshit. Foreplay? No. I need you to play with my boobs, make out with me, rub my feet, go down on me. That's sex.
Yeah.
Sex isn't intercourse. That comes from religious patriarchy. The only reason you should have sex is because we're making more babies for our cult. Some people don't find that opinion very popular, but if you think about it in a broad spectrum, you might. the biggest sex organ for a second too, because I think it's a really important part that stitches this whole thinking together. Because I want to rewire your thinking completely about your approach to your sexuality at this point. You know, you're midlife and you're like, I'm listening to you, Suze. I'm listening to you, Sandy. What do I need to do? And one of the most important things to understand, and this is the work of my friend Dr. Nan Wise. She's a neuroscientist sexologist. And she's the person, and I'd love to introduce you to her. She'd be fun to have on the show.
Yeah.
She wrote a book called Why Good Sex Matters, which is excellent. But basically, she's the person that worked with with Beverly Whipple and Dr. Barry Komisarek to put people into MRI machines and look at where their brain lit up when they had orgasms and where they were touched in different locations. And so most people think about sexual pleasure as either being intravaginal or clitoral, or maybe both. And different people feel different sensation in their vulva and their vagina, depending on cultural programming, how they've been touched, when they've been touched. All these different things affect our pleasure states. And often women feel pain, numbness, shame, not pleasure being stimulated in their vulvovaginal regions. And that can be fixed because it's your brain that is your biggest sex organ. And the reason that it is because it processes sensations. It lets you know when something feels good. Yeah. And going back to the erectile tissue, I want to close the loop on this because it's very important thinking. It's a whole new way of thinking about your body and your sexuality. Is that if your erectile tissue, if your lady penis, which is all these nooks and crannies inside you that takes 20 minutes to get an erection, if your lady penis is already, if your partner's already snoring and you haven't even achieved your erection yet, then you have a flaccid, let's call it a yoni. This is the word I like, Y-O-N-I, like my little yoni. Yoni is the tantric lovemaking word for the female genital system. It's emotion, it's spirituality, it's a multidimensional word for your feminine pleasure center. And it includes all the erectile tissue structures, the labia, minora, majora, the mons, the urethral sponge, the perineum, all the parts, plus how you feel about them and how they need honoring and they need patience and they need reverence and appreciation. They are the seat of creation. And that's why your sex life is a part of your creativity. It can fuel your vitality. It can actually supercharge your vitality when it's given what it needs. And what it needs is not what we've learned, seen in the movies, watched on porn, or been told by anyone. What it needs is 20 to 30 minutes of concentrated attention and pleasure so that it starts to get used to filling up with blood. Once those tissue structures are plump from blood flow, they have more surface area. They're literally bigger, just like an erect penis is bigger than a flaccid penis. It's our penis, basically, inside us, all in these nooks and crannies. And when it's plump and it has more surface area, when it is touched, it sends more pleasure signals to our brain. Our neural pathways get enlarged, extended, expanded, and we can literally feel more pleasure. So once you start, and the solution to getting this is yoni massage, vulval pleasuring, using vibrators. I've got certain ones I highly recommend for yoni massage. One of them is called the Leia 3, and it is like a cupping hand, and the vibrations actually penetrate into the erectile tissue to stimulate your brain, bring it online, and send the signals to your body to fill it with blood, to plump it up so that your everything starts to feel good. Women who've never had orgasms from intercourse after all of their lives will start to do these yoni massage practices with their partner, Their partner will begin to understand their body better. They will slow down and drop in. They will stop rushing to penetrate us. They will see our pleasure. We will begin to have more orgasms more easily that last longer and have more intensity. And we will finally begin, for many women, to do what I call crossing the gasm chasm, closing the orgasm gap between how easy it is for him to have his ejaculatory orgasm and how hard it is for us to have orgasms from intercourse. So, and you can be orgasmic the entire time your partner is inside you, having intercourse with you. You literally can work your way up to that through practice, but not without a lady boner. And the lady boners are a funny little thing that take longer, and you must be patient with yourself because you've been playing by men's rules and you got to break it. You got to stop it because you're not doing yourself any service by not living in the body that you're actually in. And even I, to this day, knowing all the things I know, get impatient with myself sometimes. Like, damn, this is taking me forever to get really turned on. Like I'm definitely, and then all of a sudden I'll be like, oh, I'm thinking about my husband's penis. Oh, now I'm thinking about having it in my mouth. Oh, now I'm thinking about having it in my yoni. Oh, okay. I think I'm ready to go to the next phase. And he's so patient with me.
Okay, but
Yeah,
you just said the word. He's patient with you.
he has
What if
learned that this pays off.
Okay. Okay. I was going to ask you because listen, I'm 54. I've
Yeah,
been married a long time too.
good.
And you know, with men, typically patience is not common, Susan, when it
Yeah, but
comes to
what men
sex.
love is to give us incredible pleasure. They want us to love having sex with them. And even if we won't initiate sex, generally it's just not a thing most women do. You're lucky if you initiate sex as a woman. I mean, I'm a sexpert and I have great sex. And I will say to my husband, I'm open to having a date later. And then I got to leave all the heavy lifting to him until I get going. And then I'm a real tiger in bed. But I learned how to be a tiger. I'm like the latest bloomer in the universe in almost everything that I do.
Me
And
too.
I don't even think that I'm that late a bloomer. I just think we are late bloomers. Everybody expects everything. They think, the 20s is your best time for sex. And after that, it's downhill. It's like, au contraire. Your sexual maturation is just like your personal maturation. I mean, I am wiser. I am a better lover. I'm, the most incredible person I've ever been in my life at 63. I just keep getting better and more amazing. And we all do if we have that state of mind and the appreciation for our wisdom and our journey and our experience and our mastery. Sex is a mastery level game. There's a never ending amount of things you can learn. And that is why last year, and I don't think you know about this, I wrote one of my latest offerings, and it's free, it's a download, is the Sex Life Bucket List. It's at sexlifebucketlist.com. And it's basically a 40-minute video couples experience where I walk you through, you download a PDF, and it has 48 erotic play dates on it. And these erotic play dates, people don't want to have sex and they don't want to schedule sex because that means I have to schedule screwing my husband and I don't feel like it. And so, like all these experts that are like, you just need to schedule sex. I'm like, nobody's doing that.
No,
Please.
that's
No, queen, no.
no.
So, but what people will do once they get started is they will be like, okay, on Thursday nights, we're getting a sitter or whatever we need to do to carve out the time. We're getting takeout, we're doing whatever. And we're going to learn a new thing. We're going to try something new together. That's the variety, the novelty that keeps your sex life becoming more and more fun instead of swirling down the toilet. And the Sex Life Bucket List has these 48 fun ideas, and nothing is gross. There's no like, let's pee on each other or weird shit like that. It's all stuff you would not be embarrassed to do it in front of your husband, and he wouldn't be embarrassed to do it in front of you. And you watch my video together in bed, you crack your phone open or your laptop and you watch in bed. And you have two printouts, you print them out at home, and it has A, B, and C next to each thing. And the A's are, oh, this is definitely going on my bucket list. I've always wanted to find my G spot or learn to have orgasms from intercourse or try a vibrator while we're having intercourse or do a lingerie fashion, photo shoot or, videotape ourselves having sex or something like that. And some women are like, I would never do that. And that's fine. You can mark that as a B, like, okay, I'd do it if you really want to, or a C. It's not for me right
Yeah.
now. Never say never, because when you start having fun, you get over your body image issues, because you're starting to have fun and you don't care what you look like. Your judgment flies out the door because you're too busy having fun. You start getting juicy because it's exciting and it's new again. You start trying new things. You have laughs, you have some failures. It's just more pleasurable. It's not just the old in and out thing again that I don't really like and I'm kind of sick of anyway. And I think that, and one of the things that could be top on your list is I'd like to start having yoni massages. I'd like to have a yoni massage practice with you. I heard Susan Bratton on Sandy K Nutrition's podcast, and she said that if we want to keep having great sex for the rest of our lives, the number one thing she recommends is that we start having a yoni massage practice.
I need a link for
And
that.
yeah, the yoni massage, all my yoni massage videos are free and they're at betterlover.com. And that's
Yeah, you're
also
gonna
where you
have to
can,
sorry,
yeah, yeah, go
because
ahead.
you talked about a special vibrator as well.
The
So
Leia 3. Yeah.
yes. So anybody who's listening, we will have a bunch of links
Yeah, I'm going to get you that
because
link.
Susan will get me a bunch of links that we talk about in this
Yeah.
and more and
Yeah.
more. So
Yes.
you can
Well, I might
explore.
as well tell you about one more thing too while we're at it, and that is this pleasure protocol. So, one of the things that I am very, very careful about is taking on toxins. I try to pick and choose my beauty products. I
Yeah.
try to eat organic. I cook my food at home. I just do whatever I can do. I've got an air doctor cleaning the air. I filter my water. I just try to do everything I can do to keep toxins, and I don't drink out of plastic. I just tell me what to do and I'll probably try and do it kind of thing around toxins. But I was really frustrated for decades around lubricants because I like it slippy slidey. And because I have done my Gaines wave for her, which is
Yeah.
the acoustic wave, and I do want to talk about that with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
It is so good. I still like to put lube on. And lubricants are an FDA class 2 regulated industry. And so they have to have preservatives. And the problem is they're like the ultra processed food of sex stuff. It's basically nothing good, all horrible stuff in it because it just sits on shelves and it's all chemically and it's really gross, like KY and all this stuff. Even Mama Vision, I think they're called, they just tested like 20 lubes for one compound, organic fluorine, which is a halide that screws
Mm-hmm.
up your thyroid. And all the stuff in the drugstores have it. All the stuff in the, grocery stores, the Walmarts, the Targets have these kinds of chemicals in them. So I found a company called Foria, and I've worked with them now. I'm literally their company spokesperson because I talk about this so much. And I created something with their products called the Pleasure Protocol. And I really recommend this for women. Now, this has CBD in it, what I'm about to talk about, but there is a non-CBD version available too.
Okay.
Some women can't do it. They're drug tested. They don't want to. They live in states where they can't get it. But generally, CBD is a phytocannabinoid from the hemp plant that triggers your own pleasure healing pathway. Our endocannabinoid system is our pleasure healing pathway. We have endocannabinoid receptors in our organs, in our tissue, and interestingly enough, a lot of endocannabinoid receptors in our genital structures.
Mm.
And going back to the signal to the brain, when those are stimulated by the phytocannabinoids, they start sending pleasure signals to the brain. The brain loves it. And the other ingredient that is in here is MCT oil, which is basically fuel for your brain.
Hmm.
and botanicals. So they have these melts, which are these little kind of like trochees, these little tablets that look like a little tiny thumb or a little tip of your pinky finger that are made of cocoa butter. They have ones with jojoba in it that are booty melts. So if you like anal pleasuring, which it took me to my 60s to start loving it, but I love it now because the thing with sex is practice makes perfect. Everything feels good once you know what to do and you're relaxed and you have pleasure.
Hmm.
So the Foria melts can go in your vagina and they coat your vagina so you don't have to try to get lube up in there. It has this wonderful, luscious kind of coating in the vaginal mucosal lining. Great if you have low lubrication, painful sex, etc. Then you put on the awaken arousal oil, just a couple drops on the outside of the vulva. And that starts to send the signals because remember, your clitoral structures are under your labia. Your big clitoral legs literally are right under your outer labia. And so that starts feeling really good and starting to get that skin going. And then there's the
Can I
sex
ask you?
oil.
Can I ask you a
Yeah.
question? So,
Yeah.
do those products help with the engorgement that you were talking about?
Yes.
So it helps that whole process.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, what it does is it helps. It's almost like pre-lubrication. It starts getting everything going. It gets the brain connected to the yoni. It gets the letdown happening so that the blood starts getting out of your brain, your heart, your butt, your legs, your feet, and starts coming into your pelvic bowl. And then the last thing is the sex oil for all the slide and glide that you want. You can reapply as much as you want. And this combination is absolutely incredible, clean. They were one of only 3 brands that Mama Vision, I forget what they're called, found that didn't have all this gunk in it. And the other 2 brands, one of them was one I used to recommend, but it has a couple things I didn't love. And the third one that they recommend has multiple things that I don't like. And
Mm.
so this is the cleanest clean. I'm going to send you the whole kit so you can have it and
Yay.
try it. I love it. They also have a breast oil because if you want to start getting the blood flowing almost from the inside out, breast pleasuring, nipple pleasuring, and kissing are a lock system with your clitoral erectile function. So if you
Really?
want to, yes. So that you get engorged and you get your lady boner faster when you really get things going. So the pleasure protocol, that's at pleasureprotocol.com. And I'll give you links. I'll give you a discount code that I will introduce you to them so that you can give everybody a discount code for yourself,
Okay.
which will be nice. I think they'll do a good discount code for you too, which is really nice. I love the company. I love their products, and they make sex feel even better. So between now, you understanding that you need to have time. You need to have genital massage. You need to get the blood flow in. You need to focus on eating your leafy greens and drinking your beetroot juices or eating your beets and then maybe taking your nitric oxide boosters. And then giving yourself time. The last thing is that Leia 3 with the vibration. Your husband doesn't have to do all the work for you. And you can give yourself yoni massages with that. You can run that all around and get things going. And you can go up inside the vestibule with that vibrator. You can put it right on your clitoral structures and give yourself some orgasms. You're allowed to have as many orgasms as you want, as often as you want. Every single one of them is very, very good for you. It sends oxygen to your brain to get rid of cognitive dysfunction. It really helps with that. It releases neurotransmitters. It releases hormones. It's good vascularization, good for your vascularization, and it's calming to your nervous system.
Mm.
And it really helps because especially if you're with a partner, you're creating oxytocin, and the oxytocin is kind of the counterweight to cortisol, adrenaline. So you're stressed all day and you've got all this cortisol, which can disrupt nighttime sleep. One of the best things you can do is Give yourself a couple of orgasms before you go to bed. And don't feel like it's out of the question to solo pleasure in parallel with your partner. That can be nice too. Or maybe have your partner hold you, play with your breasts, tell you how sexy you are while you use the vulva massager on yourself. And when I say vulva massager, I'm including clitoris in there. Don't
Okay.
skip
Okay.
that.
So this is really, really good information.
Good.
But, I'm sure that a lot of women are going to go, yeah, my husband wouldn't be into that. So this is
Give him
where
a chance.
my brain is kind of thinking. I'm thinking with that stimulator that you're talking about and the
Yeah.
lube and all of
Yeah.
that, if you started on your own,
Yeah.
your husband will get into it when he sees how turned on you are, and then maybe, be more conjoined in the whole process, right? Like, I'm just saying a lot of women, I'm sure, who have been married for a long time, and I'm sure you know this too, would maybe have a partner that would be like, yeah, whatever. Like, I'm not into it. And they just want the whole wham bam, thank you, ma'am. That's what they've been doing their whole life.
Well, there's two things about that. One is that every partner is different and you want to approach them differently. I often use the people code as an easy reference for thinking about different approaches to different kinds of partners. Like some partners are oriented toward power. And these think about them as tools. I want to get some tools that'll give you the ability to give me even more pleasure. I'm going to empower you to give me more pleasure. I want to try some new things.
Hmm.
You already give me pleasure, and I want to have some more and do some fun things. That'd be one way.
Mhm.
Another way would be intimacy. This is going to bring us closer. And I want to try this together because I feel like it could really bring us closer. Another partner might be oriented toward peace. A lot of men like peace. And so, in that way, you could say to them, I really want to try these things and I'm going to go off and do them and just let you know how it goes. And I'll let you know if I get more turned on, right? It could be just leave me alone and tell me about it if it affects me. That could be another way. And really, it's just thinking about these different styles of partners and what it is that's going to be right for them. For many men, they like a challenge. Hey, I want to do a 30-day pleasuring challenge. And I'm going to do it sometimes myself, and sometimes I want you to help me with it. And let's see how it goes. Would you be down for supporting me through something like that? A lot of men like a challenge. Other men, they really like ritual. I would like to know if we could have a yoni massage practice. And I can't guarantee you that I'm always going to want to have intercourse after, but if I do have the glimmer of it, we're going to have intercourse. And I think it'll make us have more intercourse. But I'd like you to try this massager on me and put these oils on me. And I'm going to teach you how to do it in the order that I learned from Susan Bratton. And, it's called a pleasure protocol and it sounds really fun. And I want to try it. Will you try it with me? And can we experiment? And just see how it goes and learn together. Like there's a million
I
approaches that you
like
can
it though.
take with your partner. And what I don't want you to do is discount them out. Basically, you know how men are. I love them dearly, but they need training. And they think that they know more than they do. And you have to let them believe that they do. And what they want to do is they want to be respected and they want to win. So you have to you have to approach them as you respect them. We're already so good. I was thinking this could make it even better. I wanted to have more fun times with you. Like respecting them for a job well done is the most important thing to men. And then when they do things right, oh my God, you did such a fantastic job with that. I love how I told you one time that I put the melt in and then you rub the awaken on and just a couple drops, then you use the sex oil. That was really good. Oh, I loved how when you really heard me when I said, rub it up and down the labia, but also across the mons. And then not until you've done that and I'm ready, go inside the vestibule. I really love how you followed the plan so well and you really heard what I said because this is what they want. And they want us to love to have sex with them. And by sex, I mean all the things, and they want to do a great job. And so your job is to empower them and lift them up. Behind every good man is a good woman. It's so true. We make them feel competent, capable, happy, loved, respected, that they're winners. That's how we love them. That's what they need from us. We need safety, security, caretaking, encouragement, adoration. That's what we need from them. We need different things. I mean, I am a true believer in sparkle rainbow self-expression. I am as masculine as I am feminine. I run two companies. I manage a team of 20 people. I am a badass bitch. But I'm also a woman who loves my man to hold me and keep me safe. And we
Yeah.
can be all those things. And so understanding what we both want and kind of moving toward that for each other really, really helps a lot. And he doesn't know those are the things that you need. You have to tell him what you need so he can give it to you.
So I want to get back into this. What did you call it? Gains wave?
Yeah, Gainswave.
I want to
Yeah.
get into what you're doing now
Okay, great.
because you do some pretty spectacular things. You're
Yes.
63, you're very vibrant and alive,
Yeah.
and you look young, you
Good.
act young. You know, I would say you're very, and I've talked about this before, Susan, that when we just let things go around midlife, sometimes men can seem more feminine and women can seem more masculine. And
Yeah.
you have all the things of, somebody who I truly like. I want to be 63 and be like that, like vibrant, alive. Talk to us about what you're doing, because you mentioned gains wave. Like there's so many
Yeah.
things. I know you probably can't say it all in, the next 15 minutes, but I
Oh,
want
I
to
can.
know. Okay, let's go.
Yeah. So biohackers use a construct called the stack, where it's basically a series of things that you do that add up to greater than the sum of the parts, that they work really well together. They're very synergistic. And my sexual biohacking stack is muscle. I am focused on strength. I want my body to be slabs of muscle. That's what I focus on. And if I have a pooch on my tummy or an extra roll or whatever, I don't stress about that either. I'm not worried about my body fat. I'm worried about my muscle strength. So that's my number one thing. And high intensity interval training to get my cardiovascular pumping, because you can't get the blood to flow where you want it to go if you can't get the blood, if you don't have a good vascular system will carry strength, and vascular system will carry you through the low toxin thing I talked about, and cooking my own foods. And now I'm a great cook in my 60s. I've just been doing it for so long. So you get better and better at it, and cooking is very easy once you learn how. So I want to encourage anyone who's still eating out of containers to try and learn some really simple cooking. It's one of the best things you can do for your health. The next thing that I do is I take bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. I take estrogen, estriol and estradiol compounded, and I put it in my vagina. I also take progesterone orally, and I also take testosterone. The testosterone is also in a cream, and I put it on my clitoris and labia. And I have testosterone level blood of about 250. It's good. I back off on it if I start to get like a mustache hair. And but I working out, I can feel my testosterone surge as well. So even though I do testosterone replacement therapy, I also generate a lot of my own testosterone too. And I think that's fantastic. I also use topical estrogen. There's a serum I like. Do you know about Michelle Sands Glow Below?
No.
Oh, this I love. So Get Glow Below is a biased dual estrogen. They also have a DHEA version for women who are like, I don't do estrogen. And it's a vaginal serum. I use it on my vagina as well, but I also use it on my face and my neck and my décolletage, my chest, and my hand, back of my hands, my arms.
I've been using
Um,
estrogen on my face for years now.
I
That
love it on my
that
face. This is
I'm
like my night cream.
yeah. Yes, yes. But not that kind, but I am a massive believer
Me
in
too.
that too. That's
Yeah.
look so long. Yeah, look at you, girl.
Oh, I've had two facelifts. I've also had facelifts. I had one at
Okay.
52 and I had one at 61. And I've had facelift, neck lift, brow lift, eye lift. I've
Oh, I
had
did the
all that
upper
over time.
bluff. I did do an
Uh-huh.
upper bluff, but
Yeah.
you know what? Gosh, like you and I are very similarly aligned. Like I'm like, I would much rather do that personally than other stuff. Like
I
I'm
didn't
with
mind
you.
having the saggy skin cut off. That was right for me. It's not right for
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
like
yeah.
I respect everybody's choices
Me
so
too. Me
much.
too. Me too.
Yeah. You just asked me what I do. So I use the Get Glow Below on my vagina and my skin. And then I also go in every couple of years and I do Gainswave for her.
Okay.
Gainswave, I've been associated with Gainswave for 5 years now. And they started out doing men's regenerative erectile dysfunction reversal using acoustic wave treatments for the penis. And now they have also launched the vulval version, and it's better, way better than the stuff I used to have to do with lasers and RF devices intravaginally,
Right.
because the Gaines wave goes all the way around everything. It goes on the whole outer vulva, mons, outer labia, inner labia, vestibule, clitoral structure, perineal area, and then toward the entrance to the vagina. But it penetrates from the outside in. And so it reconstitutes saggy labia, reconstitutes the three erectile tissue chambers of the vulva. It reconstitutes that clitoral structure. You get a nice, big, juicy clitoris again. That is atrophying as you age and your blood flow is diminished. So I love it's a series of 6 treatments. And let me give you a promo code BETTER, BETTER. Better will get you a 7th treatment free, which is a fantastic, definitely get the
Oh,
7th treatment free.
sorry, Susan. So you have
Yeah.
to go in somewhere to get
Yeah,
it done?
you go to gainswave.com/Susan. There's a
Okay.
directory. I don't make any money off of that, by the way. It's just that I can give away the 7th for free. I don't get paid by the
Okay.
doctors. And you go there and usually you do 2 treatments a week for 3 weeks, but I personally space it out. The doctors are afraid that if you only do a couple and then you don't come back, and it doesn't hurt, but if you get busy or you don't come back or whatever, then you're going to be like, it didn't work. But it takes 90 days to get to full effect, because you're literally regenerating tissue. That shit doesn't grow overnight. It took
No.
you 50 years for it to be all shriveled up. It's not going to reconstitute by tomorrow. And so you go in and you do 2 a week. I personally would do one every 2 weeks. I'm very delicate, very sensitive. For me, my Gains Wave schedule is more like one every 10 days to 2 weeks. And I get the 7th one free, believe you me. And then that lasts me for a few years. And then I'll notice, for me, I chase incontinence. That's my biggest issue. And so I get that, what my girlfriend calls keyhole incontinence, where I pull into the garage and I'm like, oh God, I got to take a pee. And then by the time I get the key in the hole in my door, I've peed my pants. Or before I get into the bathroom and I'm pulling my pants down, pee's coming out. It drives me crazy. And so the Gaines wave fixes incontinence, loss of lubrication, vaginal laxity, clitoral atrophy, genital atrophy, labia atrophy. It does like the whole thing.
Can I ask you?
So
It's
yeah,
for men too.
Matt, you take your husband with you, because if you've got atrophy, dude's got atrophy. And it reverses erectile dysfunction on anyone but the worst cases. And worst cases like diabetics or
Yeah.
people with, a lot of overweight, heavy atherosclerosis, they might have to go in for multiple times through their health rejuvenation to get their function back. And then they also should be using a penis pump, a vacuum erection device. They should also be supplementing their testosterone. Both of you should be taking your nitric oxide booster.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, this is the stack. It's like
Yeah.
all that stuff. And then there's one last thing. There's a lot of women who are like, I'm not sure I'm ready for Gainswave yet. I don't have incontinence. I don't think I have any of the, I don't really have loss of lubrication yet. But maybe I'm starting to get a little vaginal laxity. Maybe my tissue is thinning. Now I'm on estrogen and I'm thickening the tissue, which is great,
Mhm.
but it maybe not be quite enough. I'm having a little lubrication loss. Then I recommend this intravaginal device. Do you know about the VFit?
I've heard of it. I think I heard you talk about it before.
This is the vagina device.
Yeah.
It's at vaginadevice.com. And what it does is it goes inside for 8 to 10 minutes every other day. And it has 3 modalities. It has red light, photobiomodulation. It has warmth for collagen, for recollagenation. And it has vibration for essentially Kegel toning. So the VFit is marketed, it's an FDA class 2 device sold through gynecologists, doctors, and also direct to consumers. I think Nordstrom might even be carrying it now. And you put it in and you have this protocol. And I just scroll Instagram, look at your Instagram feed while while I have it in every other
Sure.
day for like 8 to 10 weeks. And then it kind of abates my issues. And then when I need to do it again, I do it again. And I like this for things that you're not maybe ready to go for Gainswave, but you need to do something. And one of the nice things about red light therapy intravaginally is that your vaginal microbiome is it needs glycogen to feed the good bacteria. And as your estrogen dips, your glycogen levels dip. And red light photobiomodulation inside your vagina actually increases glycogen and gives the good bacteria something to eat. So women have reported to me that they didn't have an infection, but it didn't smell as good as it used to smell. And that was from the loss of estrogen, the loss of glycogen. And using the vagina device helped them actually get that going. So now they're like, now I feel comfortable having my husband go down on me. And I used to just like not be able to relax because it just wasn't right. So it's
Mm.
pretty amazing what red light therapy can do.
Oh, very cool. Oh my God. You've got so much information. So here's a question for you. You do all these things
Yeah.
to ensure that you remain, you know, vital and have an enriched sex life and everyday life.
A regular life. Yeah. Yeah. It's
Like,
really all
yeah, it's
contributing to
like
my whole
everything.
life. Yeah.
Does your husband do the same?
Yeah.
He
Yeah, he goes
does.
and gets gains waves every couple of years. He's 60 and he pumps his penis probably about once a week,
Okay,
maybe twice a week sometimes. Yeah,
what's this
penis pump.
pumping of the penis?
What's a penis
Because
pump? Yeah.
the reason I'm asking is because
Mhm.
if you're doing all the things to improve nitric oxide, do you have to
Yeah.
do that?
Um,
And you have, good, like we were talking about, good, clean arteries, doing all those things, eating well, exercising. Do you still need to do the penis pump? If
yeah, penis is atrophy. They
they
do.
just do.
You know how you look at your grandpa and he's small?
Yes.
Okay, well, he didn't used to be that small, right?
Hmm. Yeah, like
Well,
your
do you think his
body,
penis
everything.
stayed the same size? I mean,
Interesting.
sorry to talk about your
I mean, I
grandpa's
don't want to
penis,
think about
but
my grandfather's, yeah, but I know
sure
what
you
you're saying.
do.
No, I know what you're saying. I do know
Yeah,
what you're saying.
everything shrinks. We're shrinking all the time.
Yeah.
And menopause, by the way, accelerates the shrinkage for us.
Yes. Yeah.
I
Totally.
mean, that's our planned obsolescence. As soon as we can't, make more humans, make more reeling earthworms, we're like, boom, destined to die. So that's why I like to push off menopause personally. I
Yeah,
push
yeah.
off
What's
menopause.
that? Talk to me about that. So,
Let me finish the penis pump. Just
okay.
because
I see. I
if
have too many questions, Susan.
no, you don't have too many. It's once you start realizing how all this stuff fits together, you're like, oh, well, shoot.
Yeah.
Okay, I can do
Yeah.
this. And by the way, if you literally just start on a nitric oxide booster, start on some estrogen replacement, estrogen and progesterone work well together. And I
Yeah.
like testosterone. Gives you balls, gives you confidence. And I like that. It lowers your anxiety. You feel more capable. Um, those are good things to start with. And then using the Leia to get the blood flowing in, or a Vim. The Vim is also very nice. That's this one. This is a wand. I'll give you links to both. Everything that I talk about is at orgasmic cross training, all these tools, these pleasure tools, but these are very nice things to use. Um, but the pump, if you can encourage your husband to use a vacuum erection device once, twice, even 3 times a week to reverse any initial, like a lot of guys, they're pushing a wet noodle and they're in total denial. They don't have vascularization of the penis anymore. You can't see the veins on their penis. They don't get hard as a rock anymore. They can't stay that firm over time. They're flagging, but they're in denial. Men are very, very distantly connected to their emotional body. As we know, it's just our physiology. Some men have more, some men have less. Everything's a bell curve, but they will stay in denial until that thing is completely inoperative and then be like, I think I'd be having some problems. Maybe I should take Viagra.
I,
So if you want to go ahead.
I was going to ask you, so that can, what you're talking about, the atrophy of the penis, that can happen even if you don't have heart disease,
Yeah,
even if you are optimizing your testosterone, even if
yeah,
because it just happens with age.
yeah.
So,
Testosterone helps a lot because then you usually are getting nocturnal erections. What happens when you stop getting nocturnal erections and morning wood, it means that your penis isn't filling up with blood repeatedly through the night. And so it's just lying there and shrinking.
ah,
So what this basically does is it replaces the nocturnal erections and the erectile function by the vacuum. You put your penis in here and you pump to a certain pressure, and it actually draws blood from your body into the cylinder because the cylinder's got a negative vacuum pressure. So the blood has to pull into the penis. And what you're doing is you're pulling in more blood, slightly more blood than your penis can get on its own by filling up with blood. And then that causes the capillaries to grow, and it causes tiny little micro damage that then causes tissue regeneration. And then when the capillaries grow back out and it has more blood carrying capacity returned to it, then the vascularization comes in, then the nerves come in. A lot of women are having sex with husbands who just keep pumping away, 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 and struggle to achieve an ejaculation because their nerves have retracted, because their capillaries have retracted, and they just can't feel what they used to feel. And
mm,
so, vacuum erection device, it's at pumpswork.com is the pump I recommend. And I only recommend one pump. Most pumps are garbage or they have a fatal flaw of some kind.
mm,
And like I said, I really take the time to kick the tires on a lot of stuff and vet the companies and their care. And this is what doctors use for their patients, but it's not expensive. It's $179.
mhm.
So this is a very, very nice system for men. And if you say to your husband, listen, I want you to pump, I want you to just go in and pump and relax and watch a game and pump your penis or whatever you want to do, and do it once a week for me. You can even prop it up on the desk and do your work while you're sitting at your desk at home. It's very easy and the electric pump is nice because it's hands free, and so then it just automatically keeps the pressure stable in the pump because it'll leak a little bit because it's going around your skin. That's why you need to keep it, you have to pay attention to it. But the electric pump is even better. And when you encourage your husband to do what I call self-care down there, then it keeps him firm and robust and happy. And he loves his penis. And guys like to love their penis. It's very important to them.
Yes, they do. They
They
do.
do.
So
It's just like
true.
us loving looking good in a gorgeous outfit and sexy shoes and stuff, and our hair done up and our makeup. For them, it's when they look down and they see their nice, firm penis. And when they don't, they get demoralized, but they don't know what to do because they are still in some denial about it. And so they'll just revert to Viagra band-aided instead of doing the simple thing, which is just draw some blood into your penis once a week. It's like the
Yeah.
easiest thing in the world. It takes
How
half
long
an
does that
hour.
take? How long does
Half an
that
hour.
take? Half hour.
Yeah, you
That's
do it. You
nothing.
pump, release for 10 minutes. You pump it up, hold it for 10 minutes, release, pump it up for 10 minutes, hold it, and then release. And that takes about a half an hour. And you can do it a third time if you want to, because you're already there. And by the way, these are dishwasher. You can put these in the dishwasher, which is great. Then at the end, you can trap the blood in the penis for a half an hour after pumping. And what's nice is that he's going to be really, really firm and engorged. And so often it's nice to send him in before your lovemaking and be like, why don't you go do some pumping? And then I'll meet you in the bedroom. And he's ready to go and he's doing really well. And it feels extra good to him because he's brought all that blood flow in.
Brilliant.
And
That's
get him on
brilliant.
nitric oxide.
Yeah. Like, but you're saying like nitric oxide boosters, like
Yeah.
stuff to help his body make it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Feed him more beets, more greens, and give him a nitric. I'll give you a link to this with, if you go to Buy Flow Now, this is my podcast special where it's like the cheapest, it's cheaper than Amazon, cheaper than anywhere. Flow is the one that's made from real fruit and vegetables, organic fruit and vegetables. I don't have the organic seal because it costs so much money
Yeah.
to get that organic seal, but everything in it is organic, which is
Mhm.
nice. So I'll send you some if you want some, let me know.
Yeah. Yeah. Is
Yeah,
that for
I'll give
men
you
and
some.
women?
Yeah, I make everything for gender spectrum because our bodies work the same way.
Wow. You're just brilliant. Okay, there was another question I was asking you. Oh, we were talking about how you still get a period.
Yeah, I do. Now, this is going to trigger warning for those of you who have just realized that I'm 63 and I still menstruate on purpose. I am not saying you should do this. I am not saying there's anything wrong with you being happy you don't have a period anymore. This
Yeah.
is just me. Okay. And I'm doing it under a doctor's care. It's completely safe. There are a lot of us out here. We just don't talk about it.
Hmm.
But I am very, very much focused on longevity. And I do a lot of things around sustaining my vitality and my energy. And, you know, I didn't get my period until I was 17, 16 and 11 months. And I got my period. I was a late menstruator. I was very thin, tall, and skinny girl. And I also had a lot of anxiety in high school. I lived in a very bad living situation. And so I think it delayed menstrual onset. So that I think is part of why I've been able to go so long, and all the bioidentical hormones I've been taking since my 40s. I take a lot of estrogen and I love it. It makes me feel so good. I feel so good. And I'm monitored by a doctor. And I still menstruate. And I have my period right now.
Hmm.
And I love it.
Is it a
I
normal period, Susan? Or is
Yeah.
it just a later?
Every 4 weeks or so, I have a 6 day, 4 to 6 day bleed.
So, and it is like a normal flow
Normal
period.
flow, like
Interesting.
it's always been.
Okay.
And in my 40s, in my 30s, I had a lot of heavy bleeding and it kind of subsided. In my 40s, I had a couple of years of some heavy bleeding and it subsided.
Hmm.
And in my 50s, I went maybe 3 months without a period and it returned. So it's the kind of thing where I'm just like literally going with the flow. I'm still bleeding and I'm happy about it because I
Yeah.
feel like for me personally, I have this thing, and the Buck Institute of Longevity is doing research on this. There's a researcher there doing this as well, saying that one of the ways you can, there's many facets to longevity, like me wanting to have big slabs of muscle, me wanting to do HIIT, me wanting to do my own pull-ups and push-ups and things like that, me cooking my own food and watching all the toxins. These are all things I do that contribute to longevity for
Hmm.
me. Running two businesses at 63 contributes to longevity for me. I have to use my brain like crazy, you know. I do a fair amount of supplementation of various kinds. I also do senolytics. So I'm taking rapamycin and other senolytics, fisetin, and things like that that I
Yeah.
pulse. But I feel like once you hit menopause, you start to go down toward your inevitable death. And I'm not afraid of death at all. I don't have any issues of mortality. I'm very, very, aware of it. My mother is in her last years. I'm fine with it all. It's like I'll live till I don't, but I'm going to live as healthy, as switched on, as cognitively functional, as energetic, as flexible, as good balance, as all, great sex and creativity and moving around and seeing the world and, being on your podcast and all of these things as long as I can, because I can tell you that I have never done better thinking, work, writing, creativity than I'm doing right now. Like I'm doing the best work of my life. Everything is just coming together in ways that you get a wisdom in your 60s. And I just have so much vitality right now. And I think my periods contribute to that. They make me feel young and vibrant and
Mm,
vital. And I like the bleed. I like period sex. I mean, that's something else a lot of women don't like. It makes my vagina feel good. I like making a mess and taking up space. And I like, just like the whole thing about it being like, ooh, it's a little taboo. And I'm like, yeah, it is. And I'm doing it. Like, I just like that whole thing that's been like so much shame has been put on us around our menstruation.
true.
And I like to take that space back for me.
It's really interesting, and I'm sure you know this research that once a woman stops bleeding, we know that the research shows that her risk of heart disease jumps up to even greater than men midlife.
Yeah.
And there's a lot, listen, it hasn't been proven, but it kind of makes sense logically. I like to put logic in with a lot of health stuff.
Yeah.
That's why I'm always like logic and resonance is big for me as well.
Hmm.
Does this
Yeah.
resonate with you or not?
Yeah.
And
Right.
for me, you know, what you're saying actually makes a lot of logical sense
Yeah.
that it actually keeps you younger and healthier and more vibrant. And I get it. I do get it. I totally get it. And if it triggers somebody here, then with triggers, I'm always like, triggers are usually something that you should take a look at why it would trigger you. It has nothing to do with what Susan's doing or what Sandy's doing, or we're not dictating to do any of this stuff. We're just educating. That's all we do.
I'm really sharing my experience in I don't want people to think, well, everything else she just told me is bullshit because she's nuts for having her period at 63. That's why I don't often share that piece, because when I posted that on Threads. I'm pretty active on Threads and Instagram, and I posted on Threads that I still had my period, and it was a pile on, Sandy. It was a
Wow.
shamey, 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 angry, vitriolic pile on.
Mm.
And I thought, oh, well, I don't really want to trigger people. I'm already triggering them around sex, Like, I don't need to trigger people anymore.
Yeah.
I don't like to trigger people. I want to be compassionate and have a gentle heart. And so,
Yeah, but you're not doing it because you're not compassionate. You're doing it because you're sharing. It's just like a lot of this stuff that I talk about, people think I am nuts. If I was to show you and turn the camera around and show you my cabinet of nutraceuticals, because I'm a big believer that because of our food system, because of
yep,
our environment, because of all of that, well, I'm not living off the land like my grandmother did.
yeah.
I have to do that to optimize my aging. So, but trust me, I have had a lot of people get triggered by stuff that I do or that I say. And I'm like, I'm not saying it to trigger people. I'm saying it because, maybe it's something that resonates with some people. That's all.
Yeah.
And it might help people.
Well, one of the things you told me before we started was when I said, tell me about your audience, because I just want to speak to your people. I'm here for you. I don't have anything to, I don't have any agenda other than I want to be your favorite show that you ever made. That's always my goal, is just to make you happy and to give your listeners some new stuff they haven't heard of. And you said, my listeners like beyond the basics.
Yeah,
They've got the basics. They're here for the next things, the interesting things, the new science, the new ideas, the new concepts. And so that's why I was willing to share that with you today, because I think that your listeners can make a determination about what's right for them, the resonance, what's right for them and what's not. And there might
exactly.
be some 40-year-old women listening going, oh shit, I just want to keep bleeding as long as I can too. That's an interesting thing. It makes total sense to me that you would have more youthful vitality if you're still bleeding than if you're not. Because I see the women who don't, and I see the women who do, and I see the difference between that.
Yep.
Okay. What do I need to do that? And all I'm doing is I've been doing estrogen, biased, the two, estriol and estradiol. And I've been doing it for 20 years.
I'm unbiased as
Years
well.
plus progesterone, and I
Yeah.
like testosterone and oxytocin. I make my yogurt.
Yeah, right. We talked about the L-reuteri.
Yeah,
And yes, I did record with Dr.
Bill
William
Davis.
Davis about
He is
that.
a doll, that
He's
guy. I love
amazing.
him so much. Super gut, weed, seed, and feed. That was his thing.
Yeah, he's amazing. And
He
I
is.
I I did buy like one of the yogurt makers.
Yeah, Luvelli.
I gotta perfect it though.
It's
I'm gonna
easy.
try again. You know what?
Here's how you do it.
Okay.
Do you take milk, or do you try it with nut milk?
Oh no, I am 100% grass fed whole
Yeah,
milk girl.
I'm a full fat.
Yeah.
I goes organic grass fed, half and half.
Okay.
So I start with that. And then I take his Oxyceutics Gut to Glow supplement, and I just open 8 of them up and stick them in and put some inulin powder in there. And then I put it in the yogurt maker and I set it to 100 degrees and I incubate it
Yeah.
for 2 days.
Right,
He
right.
says 36 hours. I just leave it for 2 days. I let the colonization just go crazy.
Okay.
And your first batch is going to be shitty. First thing that's going to happen is there's going to be this kind of like orange stuff on the top that's part of whatever else is in the Oxyceutics Gut to Glow. Just pull that off. Take some of that first batch, put the whole thing in the refrigerator in a separate jar and leave some of it in the container. Put in more half and half and the inulin again, and then culture another round. It
Okay.
takes a couple of batches to get the thick, creamy yogurt. And then over time, you'll notice if the taste changes that you need to start again with a new batch, because
New
after a
starter,
while,
right?
the bacteria, yeah, the new Oxyceutics Gut to Glow is the capsules that the company that he's on the board of sells, that has the lactobacillus reuteri in it.
Okay.
And that I think will make a big difference, is that it really takes you around. And it's funny because I have 2 homes. I have a main home in San Francisco, and then I have a little beach shack down in San Diego. And I travel down here with my my little ball jar full of my yogurt starter when I come down here, and I just use that to make my next batch down here. Once you get the thickness, the subsequent batches make up really nice. It takes a couple of shots right at the beginning to get the thickness that you want and the taste
I'm
that you
going to
want.
try again. In the fall, I'll be more grounded to, we
Right.
go to a lot of cottages in the summer on the weekends.
Yes.
And
Oh, and it
so,
lasts in the fridge a long time,
so
months.
tell us why we want more oxytocin and what.
Yeah.
So L-reuteri is a strain that helps
Yeah.
produce more oxytocin
Yeah.
body,
Yeah.
right?
So what's
Why do we
interesting
want more?
too. Yeah. Well, and it's also interesting. I'll say one more thing about making your own yogurt. When you make
Yeah.
your own yogurt, the yogurt you get in the store is just kind of like fast processed. It doesn't have much bacteria in it. It's very sugary. It's not high quality, and it's in plastic, which is leaching into body and into your husband's balls too, and into your uterus. And so making your own yogurt, if you can do it, once you get it going, it lasts a long time. It's super good for you. And what's interesting, I don't know if you've seen that new essential fatty acid company, Fatty 15.
I
Have you been
have.
hearing about them? Okay, what's
Yep.
interesting is that when I do my organic acid test and I test for my essential fatty acid profile, it's fantastic. Like I have plenty of fatty 15. And the reason I have it, I don't even need to take that supplement. And the reason that I have it is because I eat my own homemade yogurt every day in my smoothie. And that's really interesting that my EFA, my C15, is just fantastic because it comes from dairy. That's where most people get it. And the reason that people have this, chronic fragility syndrome is that they grew up in the era of low fat and non-dairy. And
Mm,
so that's what's affected us is the ultra processed food swap outs that weren't just real cream from grass-fed cows and things
yeah.
like that. And
Yeah.
so it's interesting that like I had mine tested and I'm like, I don't even need to take this supplement. Well, what's a supplement I don't need to take? Thank God. So oxytocin. So what happens is that oxytocin is a hormone that's made in your gut. And it is basically the counter pain to cortisol, which is also called adrenaline in Europe. It's the same thing, but it's the, flight or fright kind of thing. And it's stress creates cortisol, but oxytocin, it lowers cortisol. It calms you. And oxytocin is the hormone of bonding. So there's a lot of oxytocin in breast milk. It gets your baby and you bonding. Because otherwise, they're such a pain in the ass. Most of little kids are such a hassle. You're like, I don't know if I want to do this or not.
And it gets worse when they get older, let me tell you.
I have a 27-year-old daughter. She is so perfect to me. I love being a mother. I was really just kidding,
Yes,
but
me
it
too.
does do
Me
that.
too. But they are a
Yeah,
lot of work.
they're
I'm
a
not
lot
going
of
to
work,
say
but they're
that.
worth it. I
Yes.
enjoyed it. I've enjoyed
Yes.
motherhood. I love it still. Um, but it's interesting that when we have antibiotics, Lactobacillus reuteri, which is the bacteria in our gut that allows us to manufacture the oxytocin, which is the calming hormone, um, it kills it off really fast. Like it's super susceptible to antibiotics. And we've all been given antibiotics. And
Yep.
so we're ending up being low oxytocin producers or no oxytocin producers. So when our husband holds us and we don't feel anything, it's probably it's a loss of oxytocin, a loss of lactobacillus reuteri. By the way, you can just take the gut to glows, 4 of them a day, and fill your system back up too. You don't have to make the yogurt. So
It's just
if that's
way
like
more, it's way more new.
colonizing units, high
Yes,
colonizing
yes, yes, yes.
units.
You just get
Exactly.
way more. It's way better if you can make it, if you
If
can.
you can, but if you can't,
Yeah.
just take this
Take it.
capsules. It's fine.
Yeah.
Because if people are like, oh, bitch, please, like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't care what you do.
No, it's true. It's true though.
I
But
work
it's
from
just,
home. I get
it's,
it. Like
it's,
I'm lucky that way.
yeah. And it's just like what you're saying about cooking. Like
Yeah.
I, I come from a family, Eastern European, Croatian. My mom
Oh,
always cooked. Like
yeah.
we were taught from a very young age to cook your own food. So even
Yeah.
though I do my best to cook 6 days out of 7 days, as
Yeah.
simple as some of the meals might be, it's just like the same thing what you're saying about the yogurt. If you can make it, try. So I am going to try and I will let you know.
Yeah.
Um,
It is easy.
but for
And the
men, is
oxytocin
that good
really.
for men too? Does your
Yeah,
husband?
yes, it's helpful. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not as good as like kefir, kombucha, sauerkraut, kimchi. You need to keep those things in your diet too.
Yes.
The interesting thing too about oxytocin is that since I've been doing my yogurt, I have become, it makes you like people more.
Oh,
I am a lot less annoyed by people generally
oh, I need
than
that.
I
Yeah.
was before I started the yogurt. And it took me a few years of building up to get this way. I also have more compassion.
Mhm,
I'm more sympathetic. I'm more empathetic.
mm.
I'm more sappy. Things make me cry that didn't used to. I didn't cry about anything for most of my life. I didn't cry. Like
Mm.
I was hardened.
Stoic.
And now I am so sappy and sentimental. And I mean, I'll look at an internet meme and be like, oh, that's so precious. Look at those little goats putting that, like, and I like that me better.
Yeah,
And I
softer.
noticed that I was traveling with my husband in New York for 3 weeks. And then I had to go to London and work with a filmmaker. There's a documentary being made about my work and my life, which is really an incredible thing. And I went to London and I was away for 10 days. And I noticed that after about 3 days, I had no reason to be depressed or sad or down or crash or any of that stuff. But I was like, man, my life feels really flat. I should be like so excited about this. And I'm just a little low. I'm low. And then I realized, oh, I'm having a bit of an oxytocin withdrawal. I'm not getting my regular hugs and snuggles. And it's actually making me feel a little less bright and happy. And
Mm.
I think there are a lot of people who feel anxiety and depression. And I think there could be a lot of it that's due to simple things like I also have to take SAM-E every morning.
Mm-hmm.
I have the MTHFR genetic mutation where I'm a poor methylator, and I don't convert my B6 in or B9 into SAMe very well. And so when I started taking SAMe in the morning, it changed my life. And I
Mm.
think, gosh, I wish people knew more about, genetic testing and depression and anxiety, because what if it's like as simple as eating some yogurt and taking a amino acid and you feel so much happier and in love with your life and in love with people, and it's like,
Yes,
oh man, I wish our healthcare system had this
I know.
stuff.
I know, but that's why we're talking about this stuff,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So really for me, it's always about, we talk about it, and then I'm always saying I believe that people almost lost that ability to critically analyze whether something's right for you or not right for you, because I don't believe in dictating anything to anybody.
Yeah,
And so when we have podcasts like this that are really open and honest and authentic, just real people talking about our experience and our research and our education, I think it really helps other people to say, I'm going to look a little more into this. Maybe this is
yeah,
for me. And
right.
that's really all we're doing here. And I love it.
Yeah.
And
Good, me
it's
too.
like, it's an hour and a half. Susan, you are just so much fun to chat with. I love our conversations. We kind of went
Me too.
all over, but really, I would love for you to tell everybody where is the best place for someone to start to look into some of the things that we talked about, and then you'll send some links for me and all of that.
Yeah. Betterlover.com. You can
Okay.
get on my email newsletter right at the top of the page. I send 2 emails a week that have a lot of these different kinds of things. They're links to all kinds of free things that I have. And that gets you into what you're interested in. You can scroll through and be like, oh, that thing. That's what I'm interested in today. And that'll get you going on your journey, because sex is such a vast landscape that I just like to meet you where you are and what's of interest to you. And that's what that newsletter does. It's really nice. I spend about 30 hours a week writing my newsletters. It's
Hmm.
crazy. And I have a team of people who help me produce it. So it's very much my contribution to the universe,
Hmm.
and it's free. Then you can follow me on Instagram, and it's at my name, Susan Bratton, SUSANBRATTON. And that's really the place that if you want to like learn more about sex and stuff, if you are like, that chick is cool and I just like her shit, that would be Threads. I post a lot of just like like where I posted about my period and had the pile on, that was Threads.
Yeah.
That's not the kind of stuff that I post externally very much, but I have been really enjoying Threads, mostly because I've been just enjoying what's been going on in the political landscape recently, and I'm very very excited about our future of democracy and what we're doing in our country right now to lift people up.
Hmm.
And so I follow all the news on there, which is fun too. So that's
Yeah.
where I am.
That's awesome. Thank you so, so much, Susan. Such a pleasure.
Thank you, Sandy. It was so much fun. I love you.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to share it with someone you know might benefit. And always remember, when you rate, review, subscribe, you help to support my content and help me to keep going and bringing these conversations to you each and every week. Join me next week for a new topic, new guest, new exciting conversations to help you live your best life.